Hey, first grade. Today we are going to be reading another book. The book that we're going to read today is called Unlovable. Now, in this book, there's definitely a lesson that the author is trying to teach you. And so before we start reading, we are going to talk about central message. Now, the central message is the lesson that the author is trying to teach you in the story. It's also the lesson that the character learns. So the character learns the lesson and then you learn the lesson. And there are different steps to figuring out what the central message is in a book. So the first step is, what is the problem? So as you're reading your story, to find out if it has a central message, you need to think, what is the problem that the character or characters are facing? Then the next step is, what does the character or the characters do about the problem? Then the third step, what lesson does that character or the characters, what lesson do they learn? And the very last step is, what lesson does the author want you to learn? Now, usually these lessons can be applied or they can be used in real life. It might be something simple like, don't steal or be nice to your friends. It's a lesson that you need to learn and that the author wants to teach you. So today, we are going to be reading Unlovable. And it's by Dan Yaccarino. And hold on one second, guys. Let me get it pulled up for us. There we go. All right, guys. So Unlovable by Dan Yaccarino. Now, as we are reading this story, I want you to be thinking about those 4 steps to figuring out the central message. What is the problem? What do the characters do about the problem? Or how do they solve the problem? What lesson does the character learn? And then finally, you'll be able to figure out what lesson the author wants you to learn. Unlovable. Alfred was unlovable. At least that's what the cat told him every chance he got. You've got the ugliest mug I've ever seen. No one could love you. Alfred tried his best to ignore the remarks, but it was difficult, especially since the cat had taught the parrot to say, unlovable, squawk, unlovable, whenever Alfred walked by. The goldfish gurgled in agreement. But what was it that made him unlovable? His snoring? The way that he ate? His little curly tail? None of the neighborhood dogs would have a thing to do with him. His mouth is too small to hold a ball, a big German shepherd sneered. His legs are way too short for running, snickered a greyhound. A pampered poodle chuckled. Did you see that face? Beat it, shrimp, growled a Doberman. You couldn't even scare a mailman. Alfred didn't like staying in the house since the cat was always making fun of him. The parrot was always squawking, unlovable, and the goldfish was always gurgling in agreement. So Alfred spent most of his time alone in the backyard. One day, a new family moved in next door. Alfred tried to see if they had a dog who might be his friend, but he was too little to look over the fence. As he was sniffing around, he heard something on the other side. "Hello?" Alfred called. "Hi," came the answer. "I'm Rex. I just moved in." "My name is Alfred." And without thinking, he blurted out, "I'm a golden retriever." "Glad to meet you," Rex replied. Now, a golden retriever, for those of you that do not know, that's another type of dog. And it's a bigger dog than what Alfred is. Alfred and Rex talked for hours. Alfred said he liked sleeping in the sun, dog food, and scratching. Rex did too. Rex said he hated baths and going to the vet. Alfred did too. It began to get dark. Soon it was time for dinner, and they both went inside. That night, Alfred thought about how much he liked Rex and how much they had in common. Then he thought about the fib he had told. Alfred was sure they'd be friends as long as Rex never saw how unlovable he was. The next day, when Alfred and Rex were chatting, a squirrel jumped onto the fence between them. They both barked at it. The squirrel took one look at Alfred and climbed up a tree. Rex said, "You sure showed that squirrel who's boss, Alfred." But Alfred was thinking, if Rex ever sees me, he'll run away too. "I'm going to dig a hole under the fence," Rex said one day. "Then I can squeeze through to your side and we can meet." Alfred heard Rex digging. When he heard Rex wiggle under the fence, he ran and hid behind a bush. Then he heard Rex call, "Alfred, where are you?" Suddenly, Rex poked his head into the bush where Alfred was hiding. You look just like me," gasped Alfred. "Wow, this is great," said Rex. "You're not a golden retriever after all." Alfred had to laugh. Who cared what the others said? Rex was his friend, and Rex liked him just the way he was. Together, Alfred and Rex ran. They jumped. They played. And Alfred never felt unlovable again. All right, guys. So that was the story Unlovable. Now, I'm bringing this central message back up so that we could talk about the different steps that we went through whenever we were reading this story. So, first, what was the problem in this story? Everyone was mean to Alfred, and they called him unlovable because of his appearance. And they were so mean to him that he didn't have any friends, and it made him feel unlovable. So what did the character do about this problem? Well, at first, he believed them, and he even lied to Rex about the type of dog he was. But finally, whenever he met Rex, he realized that they didn't know what they were talking about, and that he had a friend that didn't care what he looked like. They loved him for him, and he was lovable. So that brings us to step 3. What lesson did the character learn? Well, he learned that he wasn't alone, and he had a friend, and he is lovable. So, what lesson do you think that the author wanted you to learn from this story? Well, different people could take it different ways, and central message, it usually has something to do, like everyone's, the central message of a book is going to be similar to what different people say, but it could be a little different. I could say something a little different than what you say you thought the central message was. To me, when I read this story, I thought that the lesson that the author wanted you to learn was that appearances do not matter, and no matter what, you are lovable. Now, you may have gotten something a little different from this story. I think that it also had a good message that you shouldn't be mean, um, to people just because of their appearance. The cat, and they were kind of bullies to poor Alfred, but I think overall it just is teaching you that you are lovable and that appearances do not matter.